The story begins in Umuaka village, a small settlement tucked between the thick forests of Anambra. Life there had always been simple. Men farmed, women traded, children ran around the dusty compounds playing suwa and ten-ten. But beneath the laughter of the people, beneath the yambans and the rhythm of pestles pounding fufu, an ancient secret lay buried. Long before the first tarred road reached Umuaka, before the whine of Okudas disturbed the evenings, there had been a shrine. The people called it Ovugvu Ici, the spirit of vengeance. Elders whispered that it was not an ordinary deity, but one that fed on betrayal and injustice. For decades, the people offered kola, goat, palm oil, and even human sacrifices to keep Ovugvu silent. But with time, modern religion came. The young men and women stopped going to the shrine. Churches sprang up, white garment prophets, fiery pastors, rosary-holding Catholics. Slowly, Ovugvu Ici was abandoned, its compound overgrown with weeds, the carved stones cracked, the sacred trees unvisited. What the people of Umuaka did not know was that a spirit never forgets. Abina, a tall, lanky young man of 22, knew little of this history. He had grown up in Enugu but was now back in the village after his father's death. His mother, Mama Nkekai, struggled to take care of him and his younger sisters. They lived in a small mud house with zinc roofing that groaned each time the rain fell. That evening, as the orange sun melted behind the hills, Abina carried his cutlass and walked through the bush path toward his farm. The Harmattan wind was dry, and dust coated his slippers. He was whistling an Igbo high-life tune when suddenly he noticed something strange. The path had changed. Abina had walked that way many times before, yet today, a narrow track he had never seen before opened up to his left. It was almost as if the bush itself had shifted to make way for him. At first, he hesitated. His late father had always warned him, Abina, bush paths that suddenly appear are not meant for human legs, they are for spirits. But curiosity gnawed at him. He tightened his grip on his cutlass and slowly entered the track. The deeper he went, the colder the air became. The trees grew taller, thicker, their branches entangling above his head like twisted arms. Then he heard it, a low hum, like a drum beaten from beneath the ground. His legs began to shake, but something stronger than fear pulled him forward. At the end of the path, he reached a small clearing. There, hidden from the world, stood a shrine. The shrine was unlike anything Abina had ever seen. Red cloths, faded and torn, hung from crooked wooden poles. At the center was a mound of stones, smeared black with dried blood. Around it were broken clay pots, cowrie shells, and the skulls of goats long sacrificed. Abina froze. His heart hammered in his chest. He knew instantly this was not a place any living man should be. Yet, strangely, he felt as if the shrine had been waiting for him. A cold breeze brushed his ear, and he heard a whisper, "Welcome, son of Namdi." Abina spun around. No one was there. His breath caught in his throat. "You have come at last." Abina's cutlass nearly slipped from his trembling hand. The voice wasn't loud, it was like a whisper carried on the Harmattan wind, but it was clear enough that he knew he wasn't imagining things. Who is there?" he stammered, his eyes darting around the clearing. No answer. Only the rustle of dry leaves, the croak of a lone frog hidden in the undergrowth, and the distant cry of a kite circling in the grey sky above. Abina licked his dry lips. He wanted to run, but his legs felt nailed to the ground. He remembered the stories his grandmother used to tell by the fire at night, the tales of spirits that lured men into the bush, never to return. "Spirits do not show themselves to everyone," she used to say. "If one reveals itself to you, it means your destiny has crossed theirs." The air thickened, heavy with an ancient presence. Suddenly, Abina noticed something moving at the corner of his eyes. At first it looked like smoke rising from the ground, but then it twisted, forming into the vague shape of a man. The figure had no face, only two burning red eyes that floated like embers in darkness. Abina gasped and staggered backward. His cutlass fell to the earth with a dull thud. "Do not fear," the voice said again, this time clearer. "Your bloodline has called me for generations. You cannot run from me." Abina shook his head violently. "No, I don't know you. I didn't call anybody. Leave me alone." The spirit's laugh was low, almost mocking. "Your father tried to run. Your grandfather before him tried to silence me. But you, Abina, you cannot escape. The debt must be paid." At the mention of his father, a cold chill spread through Abina's body. He remembered how his father, Namdai, had died suddenly 2 years ago, collapsing in the farm, foaming at the mouth, without warning. Some villagers had whispered that it was a spiritual attack. Others had said it was simply his time. But Abina had never believed those rumors. Until now, the spirit stretched out its smoky hand toward him. The ground trembled slightly, and the stones of the shrine rattled as though alive. Abina screamed and turned to run. Branches whipped his face, roots tangled his legs, but somehow he managed to find his way back to the main bush path. He didn't stop running until he reached the edge of the village, his chest heaving, his whole body drenched in sweat. When Abina stumbled into his compound, his mother, Maman Kekai, rushed out from the kitchen hut. She dropped the wooden spoon she was holding and ran to him. Abina, what happened? Why are you running like you've seen a ghost? Abina collapsed onto a wooden stool, still panting. Mama, I saw something. What did you see? She pressed, her eyes wide. A shrine, a spirit, it spoke to me. Maman Kekai's face drained of color. Her hands trembled as she touched his shoulder. Chinik Ikwela, God forbid. Abina, my son, don't ever speak such things aloud. She glanced around nervously, as though the mere mention of spirits could attract them. Abina tried to explain, but Maman Kekai silenced him with a sharp wave of her hand. Hush! These things are not for young men to speak of carelessly. You will bring trouble upon us. But Abina wasn't convinced. He saw the way his mother's eyes shifted, the way her lips trembled. She knew something she had been hiding. That night, Abina couldn't sleep. The Harmattan wind rattled the zinc roof, and the dogs in the distance howled as if disturbed by unseen forces. He tossed on his raffia mat, his mind replaying the red eyes, the chilling voice, the words, the debt must be paid. Finally, just before dawn, he made up his mind. He would go and see Mama Ifeoma. Mama Ifeoma was one of the oldest women in Umuaka. Some called her a witch, others called her a prophetess. Her hut stood at the far end of the village, surrounded by tall bamboo and a small stream that never dried even in the hottest dry season. When Abina entered her compound the next morning, a strong smell of burning herbs filled the air. He found the old woman seated on a mat, her head wrapped in a faded blue scarf, her wrinkled hands busy grinding something in a mortar. Mama Ifeoma, Abina greeted nervously. Good morning. The old woman didn't look up. Abina, son of Namdai, she said, her voice hoarse but steady. I have been expecting you. Abina's mouth fell open. Expecting me? How? She gave a small, knowing smile. The spirits whisper, my son. They have been restless. Last night, they cried louder than they have in years. Tell me, did you not stumble upon a place you should not have gone? Abina swallowed hard. I saw a shrine, and something spoke to me. Mama Ifeoma stopped grinding. She closed her eyes, muttering a prayer under her breath. When she opened them again, her expression was grave. Abina, listen to me carefully. That shrine you saw is not ordinary. It is Ovugvu Isi, the forgotten spirit of vengeance. Long ago, your forefathers made a covenant with it, but that covenant was broken. Now the spirit is angry, and it seeks repayment. And you, Abina, you are the one it has chosen. Abina felt the ground tilt beneath him. Chosen? For what? Mama Ifeoma's voice dropped to a whisper. For vengeance. Abina's chest tightened. The word vengeance echoed in his ears like the pounding of an ancestral drum. He leaned forward, his voice shaking. Mama Ifeoma, what do you mean? What vengeance? I have done nothing wrong. The old woman sighed deeply, her eyes clouded with the weight of memories. Abina, not all battles begin with you. Some begin long before your birth. The sins of the fathers often chase the sons. That is why your father died the way he did. That is why your grandfather's corpse refused to stay buried until the elders performed cleansing rituals. And now, the debt has come to you. Abina's mind spun. He remembered stories told in hushed tones during family gatherings about his grandfather, who was once a custodian of a shrine but abandoned it when the missionaries came. He had mocked the old ways, tearing down sacred symbols and building a small chapel in their place. People had said it angered the gods. Are you saying, my family abandoned Ogvugvu Isi? Abina asked slowly. Mama Ifeoma's gaze pierced him. Yes, but abandoning a spirit is not like abandoning a friend. Spirits do not forget. They wait, they brood, and when the time ripens, they return with fury. Ogvugvu Isi is not just any spirit, it is the spirit of vengeance itself. Once wronged, it will not rest until blood balances the scale. Abina's throat went dry. So what does it want from me? Mama Ifeoma looked into the distance, her voice low. It wants loyalty, blood, fear. If you refuse, it will take what it wants by force. Already, it has marked you. Last night, when you entered its domain, it claimed you. If you do nothing, more misfortune will fall on your family, and when it is done with them, it will come for you. The words struck Abina like arrows. He thought of his mother, his two younger sisters Chisma and Adays. They were all he had left. If the spirit was truly after his bloodline, then they were in grave danger. No, he muttered, shaking his head fiercely. I won't allow it. Mama Ifeoma studied him silently for a moment, then gave a small, almost sad smile. Spoken like your father. He too refused. And yet, she trailed off, letting the unspoken truth hang heavy in the air. Abina clenched his fists. Then tell me what to do. How do I fight it? For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty passed across Mama Ifeoma's face. Fighting Ogvugvu Isi is not a matter of cutlass or gun. It is ancient, older than the hills of this land. Some say only sacrifice can appease it. Others say only fire from heaven can consume it. But know this, whatever path you choose, it will demand everything from you. Abina left Mama Ifeoma's compound with more questions than answers. The morning sun was rising, but instead of warmth, he felt only a heavy dread pressing on his shoulders. As he walked back through the village, he noticed people staring at him strangely. A group of elders sitting under the Adela tree fell silent as he passed. A woman carrying a calabash of palm wine shook her head and muttered something under her breath. By the time he reached his compound, his mother was waiting anxiously. Abina, where have you been? I searched the whole village for you. He tried to reassure her, but when she pressed him, he told her about Mama Ifeoma. At the mention of the old woman's name, Mama Nkekai's face twisted in fear. Abina, have I not warned you never to go near that woman? She meddles in dangerous things. Now you have brought her words into this house. Abina frowned. But Mama, she told me the truth. She said our family is tied to the spirit enough. Mama Nkekai snapped, her voice sharper than he had ever heard. She pressed her wrapper tightly against her chest, as though shielding herself from unseen eyes. Abina, listen to me well. There are things better left unsaid. The past is buried. Do not dig it up again. But Mama Abina, she cut him off, tears brimming in her eyes. Do you want us to suffer like before? Do you want the spirits to remember us? Keep quiet, my son. Keep quiet before it is too late. Her words silenced him, but deep inside, Abina knew it was already too late. The spirits had remembered. That night, as the moon rose over Umuaka, something strange happened. Abina's younger sister, Adays, began to scream in her sleep. Her body shook violently, her small hands clawing at the air as if fighting invisible enemies. Mama Nkekai rushed to hold her down, but the girl's strength was unnatural. Abina knelt by her side, terrified. Adays, wake up. It's me, your brother. But Adays' eyes rolled back, and her voice changed deep, guttural, nothing like her own. The debt must be paid. The room fell silent. Even the crickets outside stopped chirping. Abina froze, his heart racing. It was the same voice he had heard in the shrine. Adays' body went limp, her breathing shallow. Mama Nkekai wept, rocking her daughter in her arms. Abina stood slowly, his fists clenched, his eyes burning with both fear and determination. The spirit had crossed into his home. It was no longer just a haunting memory in the bush, it was here, in his family, in his blood. And he knew then that running was no longer an option.